All right, so today we are diving deep into the world of coffee roasting.
Sounds delicious already.
We've got a podcast episode, an event description, even a company website all about coffee roasting. Should give us plenty to talk about.
Yeah, should be interesting to see what we've got. It's amazing how popular home roasting is getting these days.
Right. Look, forget the supermarket. Everyone wants to be a coffee connoisseur now. Speaking of which, we've got our resident coffee guru with us.
Yeah, our expert for this deep dive.
He even compares roasting to gardening. Says it takes the same kind of care and attention.
He's not wrong. It's about nurturing something from its rawest form into something special, whether it's those little green beans or a tomato plant.
So before we jump into the specifics, can you remind us about the main methods for roasting coffee?
Sure, so you've got your industrial hot air roasting, which is how most of the coffee you buy in a store is roasted. Big batches, very efficient. And then there's drum roasting, which is more of a hands-on artisanal approach.
And that's what we'll be focusing on today.
It is. Drum roasting is definitely having a moment right now. Lots of home enthusiasts are getting into it. Our expert, in fact, uses a drum roaster. And he was even kind enough to share his whole process with us, like a step-by-step guide.
Oh, perfect. Let's dive into that then, shall we?
Let's do it. So first things first, you've got to start with the right amount of green coffee beans for your drum.
Makes sense. Too many and they won't roast properly, too few and they'll burn.
Exactly. You need that perfect coffee bean to drum ratio, like a recipe.
Speaking of recipes, what about temperature and time? Those must be crucial too, right?
Absolutely. Those are your key variables. Every stage of the roasting process hinges on getting the temperature and time just right.
So like those cooking shows where they say, and we'll leave it in the oven at 350 for exactly 12 minutes.
Exactly. Except with coffee, it's a bit more, shall we say, nuanced. You've got so much more control over the flavor profile.
It's almost like you're painting with flavors, using heat and time as your brushes.
I like that. A very artistic way to put it. And speaking of important moments, we can't forget about the first crack. Have you heard of this?
Is that like when your coffee mug cracks from the heat? Hopefully not.
No, thankfully not. The first crack is actually this audio cue that happens during the roasting process. As the beans heat up, they release moisture and gases, which causes this like popping sound, like popcorn. It's a sign that the beans are really transforming, developing those rich and complex flavors we all love.
So that's the sound of deliciousness in the making. So what happens after the first crack?
Well, that's where the real fun begins. That's when you get to decide how light or dark you want your roast to be.
Oh, so the first crack is like our starting line for different roast levels. Okay, I'm starting to get the hang of this.
It's all connected.
So give it to me. What comes after the first crack? What kind of roast levels are we talking?
Well, after that initial first crack, you have light roasts, medium roasts, and dark roasts, each with their own distinct flavor profiles. It all depends on how long you continue to roast the beans after that first crack.
So it's like choosing your own coffee adventure.
Exactly. Do you want something bright and acidic, or are you feeling adventurous and want to go for a bolder, more intense flavor? You're the coffee maestro. And you know, some people even go for that second crack.
A second crack. What happens then? The coffee explodes.
Not quite, but it is intense. It's when you roast the beans even further, past the first crack, until you hear a second distinct cracking sound. Those are some seriously dark roasts.
This is like the coffee equivalent of going from medium rare to well done.
You could say that. But hey, some people love those super dark, smoky flavors.
To each their own, right?
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's not just about hitting a specific temperature or time. There's an art to this, right?
Absolutely. You can't just set a timer and walk away. Well, you technically can, but it won't be the same. You really need to use your senses, especially your sense of smell.
Because who doesn't love the smell of freshly roasted coffee?
Exactly. But it's more than just enjoying the aroma. It's about understanding what's happening inside those beans as they roast. The aromas actually change and develop over time. And speaking of aromas, did you know that there are over 800 distinct aromas that can be found in roasted coffee?
800. Seriously, that's like a whole flavor dictionary just for coffee.
It is pretty incredible. And just like wine has its sommeliers, the coffee world has what they call Q graders.
Q graders.
Yeah, they're basically coffee connoisseurs, highly trained experts who can identify those 800-plus aromas.
So they sniff out the good stuff. Sign me up for that job. But okay, let's say I'm not quite ready to quit my day job and become a professional coffee sniffer. What's so great about this whole home roasting thing?
Well, first of all, you get to impress all your friends with your amazing coffee. But more importantly, you get to experiment and find what you really like.
So it's not just about following a recipe.
Exactly. You're in control. You can tweak the variables, play with the roast levels, and create a coffee that's uniquely you.
I like the sound of that. Sounds pretty empowering. But you need the right tools for the job, right?
Yeah.
What kind of equipment are we talking about here?
Well, first and foremost, you need a good quality drum roaster. That's key. And of course, a good grinder is essential. You don't want to be stuck with unevenly ground coffee.
No, nobody wants a mouthful of coffee chunks. But I'm curious, with all this talk about technology these days, could machines ever replace human coffee roasters?
That's the million-dollar question. We've got AI and machine learning doing incredible things, so it's not impossible.
I can just imagine it now. My AI-powered coffee roaster, programmed with my perfect flavor profile.
It would be pretty amazing, wouldn't it?
But then again, there's something to be said for the human touch. The experience, the intuition, the passion that a skilled roaster brings to the table.
Definitely. It's like that with anything, Technology can enhance, but it can't always replicate the human element.
So maybe it'll be a collaboration. Humans and robots working together to create the perfect cup of coffee.
Now that's a future I can get behind. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We've roasted our beans, now we need to let them rest, right?
Rest. The beans need a nap.
In a way, yes. It's called degassing. After roasting, the beans release carbon dioxide.
Like a coffee burp.
You could say that. And if you don't let those gases escape, it can actually affect the flavor of your coffee.
So how long do we need to let them degas?
Ideally 5 to 10 days. I know it sounds like a long time, but trust me, it's worth the wait.
Okay, I'll try to be patient. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've gone from green beans to degassing and everything in between.
We even touched on the possibility of robot baristas.
It's been quite the journey. But before we go, our expert mentioned something about safety. Apparently this whole roasting process can be a little, shall we say, hazardous if you're not careful.
He did. Something about exploding beans in hot oil.
Oh no, tell me more.
Well, he specifically mentioned that you should never, ever roast coffee beans in a regular pan on your stovetop. Apparently, it can be quite dangerous.
Oh wow, I had no idea.
Me neither. So those fancy roasting drums aren't just for show. They're also there to keep us safe.
Safety first. But now that we've talked about all the steps, all the equipment, all the potential dangers even, I have to ask, what's it like to finally taste that first cup of coffee that you roasted yourself?
It's an incredible feeling, like you've really accomplished something special.
I bet all that work, all that anticipation, it must be so satisfying.
It really is. And the best part is you can share it with others. There's something special about sharing a cup of coffee that you roasted yourself.
It's like a gift, but even better because you put your heart and soul into it.
Exactly. And, even after all this research, all this talking about coffee, I still feel like we've only scratched the surface.
I know, right? There's so much more to explore. But I think that's what makes this whole coffee world so fascinating. There's always something new to discover. But hey, speaking of discovering, I think it's time we wrap up this episode. After all this talk about coffee, I'm ready to put the kettle on. But before we go, any parting words of wisdom for our listeners who might be inspired to try their hand at home roasting?
It's funny. After all this research I keep talking about, if you could create your perfect cup of coffee, what would it taste like?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. What flavors would be on your palate? Would it be bright and citrusy? Or maybe something rich and chocolatey?
It's like we're unlocking a whole world of coffee possibilities.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to experiment, try different beans, different roasts. You might just surprise yourself.
So go forth and roast.
Yes. And don't forget to share your creations with the world, or at least with us.
We'd love to see what you come up with. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into the art and science of coffee roasting. We've gone from those humble little green beans to the heights of coffee connoisseurship.
We even ventured into the future, where robots might be brewing our morning cup.
Who knows what the future holds? But one thing's for sure, there's never been a more exciting time to be a coffee lover. Until next time, happy roasting.
Cheers to that.